All right, welcome to the TBA Game Time TBA podcast. I'm your host, Brian. We got Troy. If you don't mind giving us a subscribe, give us a like. We've got a couple games that we're going to go over tonight. We got LSU Vandy, we got Old Piss versus Georgia, and we got Auburn versus Missouri that we're going to go over. We're also going to have a separate video with Alabama taking on the Vols and Bryant Denny. But first, we're going to cover these other three games. Troy, how you feeling, buddy?
Man, happy to be here. Little Thursday night prediction show. Hell of a slate. Hell of a slate. I know SEC homers we're going to be accused of, and there is no denying it because those are the three games that we're going to pick tonight. So excited to get into it.
Yeah. Before we get into that, got a couple other sneaky games. You got BYU, Utah, and you got USC, Notre Dame.
USC Notre Dame,
So
man.
those could be another sneaky game. We got a huge slate of football. But yeah, getting into that first game, buddy. LSU Vandy in
Yeah.
Nashville.
LSU Vandy. If you would, I mean, are we like still in the matrix? I mean, Vandy favored over LSU. I mean, it still doesn't seem like I've heard Josh Pate say we are not recalibrated. Like, and I completely agree. But as we know, this Vandy team is different. Clark Lee, Diego Pavia, their entire coaching staff completely reshaped that football team, their identity. They're confident. They still believe they're SEC championship contenders. They still believe they're national championship contenders. And hell, they've only got one loss. So coming off a bye week, having to lick the wounds a little bit after the last time we saw them was a defeat at the hands of the Crimson Tide, and now they got the Bayou Bengals and us headed to
Mm-hmm.
Nashville. Man, I think so much is interesting about this game. You've got LSU's offense, which is filled with playmakers. It's been a little slow to start the year, but you know the talent is there. You know, eventually with the talent, you'd have to think it's going to click. Like they're going to figure it out. I know last week against South Carolina was the first time they've really run the ball. I think they ran for over 160 yards, which is always impressive in any game, let alone an SEC game. So maybe they've unlocked something in the running game. And then with Vandy, you're going to get clean, disciplined, Diego Pavia shit talking football. They're going to play time of possession. They're going to control the clock, and they're going to not beat themselves. So a very, very interesting matchup here.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you go back to the Alabama game, and the Tide flipped the script with time of possession. Vandy's done a great job of that this year, and Alabama was able to, sustain long drives. Was consistent running the football, but really it was the passing game. And Vandy had some success, but they had a couple turnovers in the red zone. That Tide defense was kind of bend but don't break. And Vandy, I think in this game they're going to need to go off to a hot start.
Yep.
I would say, and that's the thing is if they go up 14-3, that's kind of the issue. Whereas an LSU fan, you're probably a little worried because
Yep.
you know versus South Carolina is another one of those 20-10 games, just like the Auburn Georgia game. But LSU was able to run, kind of get the football going a little bit, but they just weren't able to capitalize. And you're going to have to capitalize on this Vandy team because they're going to put up some points, especially at home. Uh, there's probably going to be a handful of LSU fans there, but you're gonna have a little bit of an advantage. A lot of people are going to be up for this game. I think tickets were going for like $200. So Vandy, I don't
Should
think
be
that's
a
just LSU. The Vandy fans they know they have a legit football team. And like you said, recalibrated. I don't think this is one of those little sweet stories where we're like it's been
no.
great, but it's Vandy. No, like they're favored in this game for a reason. It's because they
Yeah.
they have a talented team. They got a good quarterback, and like I said, if they go up early, if they get a couple shock plays, it might be hard for LSU to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I think the fast start for Vanderbilt, I mean, if you look at the game against Alabama, we'll just use that one. It's the most recent and the only loss. I mean, Alabama was able to put them in a position where they could not run that option. They had to get off script, and it turned into a drop back passing game. LSU's defense is as good as one of the top tier defenses, not only in the SEC but the country. So if you get Vanderbilt in an obvious passing situation, and their receivers and Pavia are going to have to not only deal with Blake Baker and his blitzes, but that secondary, it does not bode well for Vanderbilt. So yeah, you got to come out, and if you get the ball first, a good 9.5 minute drive that ends with six is the recipe for success. And with LSU, you can't just do these 3-and-outs where you're giving Vanderbilt possessions. Like, I want to see Nuss take some shots. I don't know what the health situation is. I want to see them open it up a little bit. I mean, you've got Aaron Anderson. You've got a tight end that's like 7 foot tall. You've got elite skill players. I'd like to see them get a little bit more involved. But yeah, man, I think as much as I like Vanderbilt and Pavia, and it sets up for an 11 a.m. sleepy kick. All the reason in the world to pick Vanderbilt. I can't think of a reason not to pick Vanderbilt, which is the exact reason why I'm going to pick LSU to win the game. Like,
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to go with LSU. I just think that I'm banking on that roster. I'm banking on Brian Kelly, banking on Garrett Nussmeier. I'm still a believer. Not saying it's going to be some blowout city type of game. I think going to take LSU by less than 5. I think it's going to
Okay.
be
Yeah.
super close, but I'm going to take the talent of the LSU roster to squeak by and get a win and get the hell out of Nashville. No enjoying Broadway. Get the SEC win and get on back to Louisiana. Give me the Tigers.
Okay. I think, I think one of the, like you said, I don't know if it's health or what the issue with Nuss is. He's put the football in harm's way. Each of his last 3 power opponent games, he's thrown an interception. Last week, he threw 2 interceptions. Parker, one of their receivers, had over 100 yards last weekend and a touchdown. Another receiver had 75. They, like you said, they got some playmakers, but Nuss is putting the ball in harm's way. And I personally think that the Commodores are going to win and they're going to cover.
Oh my gosh.
I think
Okay.
they're gonna win by 3.
Van,
I think Nussmeier's gonna throw a costly interception that might go to the house, or if not, it's gonna be in good field position for Vandy, and Pavi's gonna be able to take advantage of it. I think it's gonna be like a 23-20 kind of game. I just think there's a little magic in this Vandy football team, and with the bye week, they're not gonna. They played a hard-fought game versus Alabama on the road. I think bringing it back home, this is the game that they are looking for to capitalize and say, no, this Vanderbilt team is serious and we're here to stay. So I got Vanderbilt 23-20.
all right. So the team, and we're both taking teams that wear gold, so that's perfect. But I don't hate that pick. There's every reason to pick Vandy. That's the reason I'm not going to. But yeah, I agree with you. If you turn the ball over, that's a death sentence against Vanderbilt because they will definitely make you pay. They may not score, but they're going to drive and eat clock and keep it out of your hands. So yeah, I don't hate the pick, Bear. Excited to watch it, man.
Yeah. And we'll kind of stack up our picks whenever it's all said and done. And, loser can eat crow.
It's fine. Yeah,
Next
we'll
game
wear
that
the
we,
Duns hat.
yeah, but next game we got is Old Piss versus Georgia.
Ole Miss. I've heard you call Ole Miss Ole Piss over 1,000 times in my life, and every time I just have the same reaction where I just have to shake my head. I just don't even know if you're like I don't even know if it's Ole Miss anymore. It's just too ingrained in your brain at this point.
Is it?
I don't know. Yeah, what do you initially I'm looking at this Ole Miss Georgia. Georgia's 7.5 point favorite. You know, Ole Miss. I mean, I'm gonna. I'll just throw my pick out early, and I can get into the reason. I'm taking Georgia here to win and cover in Athens after what happened last year. Kirby, it's kind of like how Nick always had his way with his former assistants. Kirby has pretty good success rate against Lane outside of that 1 year. So I'm going to go with the Dogs here in a revenge spot from last year. Raucous crowd in Athens. Give me Georgia by 10.
Okay. What's your biggest key to that? About Georgia kind of coming away with that victory.
Trinidad Chambliss, I love it. I love the what he's done this far. But first SEC road start, you're going on the road against Georgia. I know Auburn is not the Kansas City Chiefs on offense, but I think the second half performance from Georgia's defense last week against Auburn, and then I mean even going back to Alabama, shutting Alabama out in the second half. I think he's had this game circled. I think he's a little bit familiar with what Lane wants to do. I think they found something. They got a little confidence back. The linebackers, C.J. Allen, were flying around in the second half, playing a little bit more free. and I think that's just going to continue to happen. And I think when the defense starts playing well, fire everybody up. That's what Georgia's about. So yeah, I trust the Georgia defense and Kirby here to make a couple stops and maybe force an interception or two.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you as well. I like Georgia in this football game. I think with Ole Miss, obviously last weekend you could kind of account to, you know, it's a trap game. You're looking forward to Georgia. You got Washington State. You should win that football game. It's not a great team, and then you only come away by 3. You were kind of losing for a while until the end of the first half.
Was it a look ahead spot?
Yeah, it was a look ahead spot. They're better than that. But at that same time, their best win they had a close win versus Kentucky. Their best win is LSU, which is a solid win.
Yeah.
It was at home, and we don't really know how good LSU is, and we're going to find that out this weekend.
Yep.
But and that wasn't necessarily like that was a good game, but it was kind of a little bit of a sloppy game, and that's kind of what LSU has done this year.
Yep.
But I just think it's one of those situations where Kirby is going to have his team ready. It kind of gives me the same vibes as like the Texas game last year, which I think maybe was this same weekend where you kind of thought, Georgia's not as good as they have been in the past, and then they come out and steamroll Texas because that
Right.
team is ready to go. I don't think it's one of Kirby's best teams. I just think they're going to have that team prepared. Like, this is the turning point. If you lose this game, you're going to be kind of put back on that playoff race. But if you win this, you're going to be right at the head
Yep.
of the table for the SEC championship.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree. I think it's as much as it on the field, it's Kirby having the team dialed in and ready to go. This is a revenge spot. I mean, Ole Miss put it on their ass last year, so I don't think Kirby wants to see that happen again. Like you said, we're all going to be, and there's no telling what the SEC standings are look like. But if you can find a way to stick out and keep a 1 in that loss column, you've got to do it. And I think that Georgia's going to add Ole Miss to that list of 1 about 7 o'clock Eastern on Saturday night. So, yep, I'm taking the Bulldogs by 10.
Yeah, I've got Georgia. I've got Georgia by 8, 35-20, 30, or kind of losing track here, 35-27.
35-27. And I'm going to go a little bit lower scoring, but I'm with you. Give me 30-20. I like something like that. So I think it might be a little bit closer, but I think Georgia may, pound one into the end zone with less than 5 minutes or so left, and hold on from there. But yeah, I like the dogs here.
Both agreed on that one.
Yep. And now the Tigers. I am going to take the Tigers to win for the next one. Shout out Dustin
What?
Watts.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I like the Tigers here, man.
Auburn versus Missouri, Battle of the Tigers.
Yes, that's a shout out to our friend Dustin Watts.
pulling it, Dustin.
That's right, man. What are you thinking about this one? I think this one might intrigue me more than any of them, to be honest.
So Missouri is a 1.5-point favorite,
and that swung because Auburn opened at 1.5.
Yeah. My gut wants to tell me, or my gut wants to tell me that Auburn's going to pull this one out by 3 or 4, but I don't know. My brain just tells me that Auburn, they're going into a team, Missouri, who has a very, very solid front seven. If anything, the most suspect thing on their defense is their DBs, but they're playing Jackson Arnold this weekend. So he hadn't really shown that he can take advantage, at least for a full game, passing the football. And I don't think he's going to be able to utilize that running game, with the QB. So, I think this is going to be a really low scoring game. I just think, and I think Auburn's defense is going to play, but the problem is that game last week probably took a toll on them. I don't know about that locker room. I know the player recently left. I don't know if that's going to help the locker room. It kind of seems like that's probably not the best thing in the middle of a football season for somebody to, be leaving the football team, regardless of playing time and whatnot. But it doesn't seem like Hugh is completely bought in. They had the situation over the summer where he was golfing all the time. Also, it's just, I don't know. It's just like that team. He didn't fire that team up after that emotional uh, penalty call last week.
Yeah.
And it sucks. And you can disagree with it, but you got to get your team ready for a whole second half of football. You can't just fold like that. And it looks like they didn't really have a game plan, and they just kind of said, "Oh, the refs got us again." When you had a whole second half of football to go out there and prove like it doesn't matter what the refs do, we're going to go out and win this game. And to me, it just looks like the locker room is not intact from that standpoint.
That
Jackson Arnold doesn't have any confidence. I just personally think that Mizzou's going to get the win. I think it's going to be 17-13.
that's my exact. I'm gonna exact score Mizzou to win too. The biggest thing for me is like, and I hate to even be in, getting into this, in week 7, but like, has Auburn given up on the season? Like, is this you've lost 3 in a row. You had extremely high expectations. It's a great roster. Hugh recruits well. There was a lot of positive momentum for Auburn coming into the year. People had them as a fringe playoff team. You get Jackson Arnold, who was the #1 overall recruit, fresh start. He was known for offense. There's a lot of excitement. You've lost 3 in a row, all games that you've been extremely competitive in. Not like you're not getting blown out, and you have a team captain. And I know there's been disagreements on how the situation went, but you lose a team captain at this point in the season. Um, he's had a lot of outpouring. He's had an outpouring of support from his teammates on social media. So interpret that as you will, but that's what concerns me about Auburn. It's off the field, but on the field, I think their defense is premier defense in the SEC. I think Missouri's the same way. Like you said, their front 7 is as good as you'll see in the SEC. The pass rushers, Auburn's tackles will need to come to play because Damon Wilson and Zion Young are going to get to Jackson Arnold. And the thing, Brian, I don't know how you interpret this, but I keep seeing the stat of, well, Jackson Arnold hasn't thrown an interception in 15 years or so. It's however many pass attempts. You know, is that like, yeah, you don't want your quarterback to turn the football over, but you got Cam Coleman and Singleton. Maybe take some shots, man. Like, open it up a little bit. Like, I don't think if you took a one-on-one shot on a nice ball to Cam Coleman and the DB makes a play or whatever it is, I don't think that's going to be I don't think you're going to get, undressed on the sideline by your coaches. But I'm not a football coach or anything like that. But
I
I
mean, it
mean, if
just shows
I'm
me.
Auburn, man, just let this thing rip. Come out and just let this thing rip. You got Cam Coleman, who's the best player on the field. I'm I'm going to give him a couple shots until they ask me not to do it or they pick it off 4 times in a row. But on the Missouri side, you know what you're going to get with Missouri. Outside zone run game. Ahmad Hardy's very good. Jamal Roberts is very good. Alabama did a pretty good job of bottling them up. I think you're going to see Auburn. Auburn's going to have some success stopping the run too. It's just going to be on Pribula. Alabama was able to force him into a couple turnovers, and put the game on him. I think Auburn will be able to do that to some extent, but I just see this as a tight game, and there's going to be a play in the second half by Missouri that's just going to be a backbreaker, and I've got Missouri also winning 17-13, and who knows what happens on Sunday morning.
Yeah, could be a tough day for Hugh Freeze and Billy Napier. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, and Billy. Yeah, geez, I didn't even think about Billy. I think that's going to happen. He could win, and I still think it might happen. But
Yeah,
with going back to the Auburn thing, I mean, I think it would not shock me. It would also not shock me if Auburn came out and beat them by a touchdown. Like, I
yeah,
also wouldn't be surprised that we can vouch for how difficult of a place to play that stadium is, and the Auburn fans will always be there, man. No matter what, that team's going to have a lot of
yeah.
support. But I am going to take the Tigers of Columbia, Missouri in this one.
I think last thing I'll say is I think for if we wake up on Sunday and say Auburn beat Missouri, I think it's going to be at the hands of Jackson Arnold finally stepping in with that
Yep.
confidence and trying to force it to his playmakers, even if it comes with the possibility of a mistake.
Yep.
You can't play scared. You got to go out there and take some chances. So I think if they win, I think on Sunday we'll be talking about how Jackson Arnold finally took some chances with his
I
wide.
agree. I think that's a great point. Don't say it's the defensive force, a couple turnovers. Yeah, that might be true, but yeah, I think you're right. I think If Auburn wins, we're going to say, "Damn, did you see Jackson Arnold that 3rd and 8 let that thing rip to Coleman?" I,
Yeah,
I agree with you, man. Well, hey, you've got Vandy, I've got LSU, we both got Georgia, we both got Mizzou. Can't wait, man. Excited to get into the Tide preview. Everyone, bear with us. Give us a couple minutes. We're going to be right back on.
let's get it.